So are we about to hit the parabolic stage of Bitcoin belief? The data states that we are. The election's coming up. Data's looking okay. The cycle narrative is essentially on path, which is good. So let's talk about where we could go in the rest of the next couple of weeks. So the question is Bitcoin, or more importantly, the cryptocurrency industry, going into a state of belief where we've had a bit of optimism? We've been through the hope stage, disbelief. Obviously, this is more focused on Bitcoin. And all of this is going to become very relevant. So, as always, stick around, leave a like if you enjoy this content, and subscribe if you're new, right? Because I'm going to blow brains here in terms of what has been said in the news. My opinion, I think we are hitting belief. It feels right. We talked about the cycles before in previous videos. The lows are in sync. We were ahead at the start of the year, caught a lot of people off guard. I feel like we're in that sort of area now. Realistic expectations are we are kind of following the simple sort of line. And you can see quite obviously, in my opinion, that we are somewhat on path. We have got an election. We are going to see some sharp corrections. We are going to see some volatility, in my opinion. But often November, December in an election year is usually pretty favourable, usually. But who knows? They may come out with a stupid policy that ruins the market and we all go home. Hopefully not. But let's talk about that. Because there has been some really silly, stupid, dumb stuff that has been put in the news recently. And this is an ECB advisor on Bitcoin. Now, this is just an advisor, but just, honest, baffles belief. So, a senior management of the market infrastructure and payments business area of the ECB, right? Basically saying that Bitcoin should be eliminated, right? So, let's just read something really stupid, right? There are compelling reasons for advocates for policies that curb Bitcoin's growth or eliminate it. I'll let you spew on that one for a minute. The next part is the main gains of Bitcoin come at the expense of latecomers or non-holders, which I don't quite understand. It's like filling a big barrel by draining water from many buckets. The latecomers have to give up the benefit of the early birds. Now, that's just the market. If you don't like that, don't play in the market, right? There will always be a degree of luck. There will always be a degree of skill or being early, right? The reality is it's all in the mindset. And we'll talk back, going to that image from Mags on X. But the reality is here. That's just how it is. If you bought Bitcoin when I did in 2016 at like $600, you tickle pink right now. I know. But some people do get lucky. Some people buy Ethereum at $2,000 and get lucky in a couple of years and it breaks even or goes even higher. It's just what you do with it. You either sell, you either carry on, or you just give up. And most people, in my opinion, especially on this channel, I feel give up. Look at every single cryptocurrency influencer. If they've been around for a while, they've got high followers to view ratio. It's because the people that watch are the hardcore fans, the diehards that want to succeed. If you're that person, give yourself a pat on the back, because anyone that watching these videos and they've been watching them for the last 2, 3 years, 4 years even, you've been through the mill. But that's a market. Same with dividend stock, same in the S&P 500. No one gets rich by investing in the S&P 500 for 1 year. Oh, because I bought on the depression year. Fuck off. Literally. Anyways, I'm ranting. But it's important to note. And again, we go back to more stupidness. Is being this wrong should be illegal is basically one of the posts on X, because Mr. What's-his-face from the Federal Reserve has basically stated that cryptocurrency is almost never used outside of drugs and criminal activity, when we know for a fact that cryptocurrency is often used, and I'm going to prove that in a bit. It's just mad how all of these like IQ tests that people are really failing in big places. And I like it when Bitcoin's under attack. I like it. It gives me that belief, that hope that it's going to continue going higher. Because let's be honest here, all this chart is doing is explaining what your mental state is. People buy high. It's euphoric. People think it's going to die at anger, but it continues to go higher. It's mad, isn't it? So if you are that person that's stuck around, if you are a subscriber of this channel or a member of my Patreon or whatever, or even learning crypto, and you have stayed the course, there's a good chance that you are either in break even or you're much, much higher. I know a lot of people that are much wealthier than me who have just followed the market and just literally went with it. I know people in the S&P 500 who have been investing for 10 years now, absolutely loving life. It's all about time. And realistically, the time is, hopefully, cycle narrative, bull market, markets will mark up, and we get some nice gains. Now, I know the data is not great here, but I will upgrade my account on here unless they want to send me some money. Free account, please. Liquidity, M2. Talked about it before. The reason why I want to mention this is because this is just how the markets roll. We're going into a period of potential changeover in government in the US. I don't have an allegiance either way, but often it is a interesting topic. But let's talk about why this is important, because when we talk about psychonarratives, we talk about the likes of models. Models often get broken, don't go off them, but you can kind of see how the markets go up and down over these periods of year. The reason why I'm doing it is because of the black line, not the rainbow line. But the reality is here, the M2, the global liquidity, the markets tend to go up, and we're going into that liquidity cycle where it's going to increase. We've also got rate cuts happening, all that kind of stuff that will be at some point favourable. It will take time though. So it's all interesting. Whether we do go to say, no, probably not. You get the idea. You don't go, just stick with the norm. Just don't go crazy, right? But be mindful of it. But let's be honest here. The S&P 500, Q4, often pretty good versus Q3. Same with cryptocurrency, funny enough. And that's the reality is here. These averages are hugely important. And I know past data doesn't kind of indicate future performance. That's fine. But the reality is we're coming into a favourable phase, which is good. What is interesting, and we talk about big players in the market. Why are the ECB advisors attacking it? Why are stupid people in the Federal Reserve attacking it? Well, look who's backing it now. We've got BlackRock, who are really sinking their teeth right into this. We've got Fidelity as well. We've obviously got the likes of Michael Saylor and other big entities like Tesla buying cryptocurrency and being a part of the movement. The problem you have is, where will this take us? We don't know. It's new. Well, the ETFs aren't even a year old, but they've done fantastic. And I think people forget this, but it is the best ETF ever. It's the fastest growing ETF in history. It's the third highest inflow year to date among all ETFs. It's pretty big, that's good. And we talk about all this belief. If they're believing in it, why are we not? That's kind of my point here. And the game of hodl Bitcoin is king. It really is. I could talk a lot about try and get as much Bitcoin as you possibly can. Just do it. That's the only game you got to play, right? Whether you're doing it through altcoins, whether you're doing it through ruins, whether you're doing it through meme coins, whether you're doing it through other services where you're charging Bitcoin, whatever it may be, get as much Bitcoin as possible. The idea is, and we're going to get to a point where people will get very, very bullish at certain points. YouTube will be horrendous and I'll run a mile from it. But there will be times where we will retrace. There will be times where things will go up crazy amounts. But look who's backing it. Absolutely brilliant so far. When you compare that to centralized exchanges and centralized kind of vehicles of what people are used to with the ETFs, and then you got the IBIT one, people are like, what's this Bitcoin malarkey? I don't want that. Proven the opposite, hasn't it, realistically, right? And when we talk about BlackRock, they had a very quiet period from, end of August to nearly end of September. But that's quite common for the markets to slow down then. And then they just ramped up again. It's been a really, really big growth. And over the last couple of weeks, you can see this on this image, it has been very much rampant, and that's very, very strong. And the fundamentals are, well, they just keep buying and we'll get a scarcity shock, hopefully, fingers crossed. So in terms of the Bitcoin chart, this is kind of where we are. It's not looking great because we're correcting, but we have broken structure. There's been a change of character. And for the first time in a very, very long time, we have actually closed on a weekly time frame much higher than previous levels. Now, yes, we could indicate potential rejections, but we've actually broken above here. It might be a fake out short term. And I've talked about this on my X, feel free to follow me, that we'll go to 69,000. We may well correct from there. Feels like we're doing that, which is good to see. I've still got it. I'm still got the old narrative going. But we've had a break of structure, a nice little impulse, and we've obviously broken out, right? We're going to pull back. And if we are going to pull back in and around this region, there's a lot here, by the way. This might actually be the lowest of the lows of it in terms of this move, potentially, fingers crossed, hopefully. And then we may well go up and retest all-time high. Now, I'm actually wrong here. I was not expecting us to be this high this soon. I was thinking we were going to be a bit boring during the mid-stages of October because the election's coming up start of November, obviously. And it's interesting to note, we may well go sluggish for a bit. Maybe. We'll see. But hopefully not. It'd be nice to see if we get that break. And as you know, in my analysis, I've been talking quite a lot. I'll go to the weekly time frame so you can see it, about these up and coming future levels. Now, obviously, yes, you can argue that from the low here, okay, to this high here, bear with me, let me just zoom in a little bit. The new situation could be, well, this could be the market cycle low for this year, and off we go. Well, I wouldn't say for this year, but you get the, you know what I mean, this time period. And then the next correction, a wave, essentially could be the break of all-time high, which is obviously here, up to this level here. Now, I've often talked about, you know, the market. I'll show you. It's easier. The low to the high here, right? If we're looking at that situation, you know, we have had this massive, massive run to the upside, and we're going all. I'll be easy if I just zoom in a little bit. Like, there you go. That's better. We've went all the way up. We've found levels of support again at these regions, and then, you know, 83,000 could be key. Between 83 and 90,000 could be absolutely massive. It could be huge. It could be the level that breaks the camel's back for retail to come back in and hurtle into the market. Now, again, if they're going to hurtle in, the ECB aren't going to be very happy, and the Federal Reserve aren't going to be happy, but we will be. At the end of the day, that's what the market. We all know the sell triggers when Coinbase is ranked high. We all know that when your friends start acting and talking about cryptocurrency and start showing an interest, it's time to sell, right? It's just the way the market is. But for me, this is like really, really interesting. Now, the one thing I will say, the Learning Crypto indicator up here at the top, we are getting a potential signal for a hidden bearish divergence, but that kind of falls in line with the factor of structure here. Yes, we are going to be amongst it a little bit. The odds of us flying above this is not going to be perfectly good. There will probably be a correction in my eyes. I think that's going to be happening, but there is a divergence there, so be mindful of it. However, that being said, the election's coming up, but if the ETFs keep buying it, if people start doing silly stuff and liquidations happen and stop losses get hit, well, that's going to be a big, massive factor. Now, something that has been, in my eyes, a very struggling bit of kit recently is Ethereum. Now, I've often talked about this. Now, it has shown a little bit of a break of structure and a change of character here, potentially. We could be correcting into these levels here. It wouldn't surprise me if we went all the way down to 2,500 and then we go continue higher. But again, we have got, again, a hidden bearish divergence. So be mindful of that in terms of the plot there, especially in the higher time frame. So with that, you've got to look at the obvious. Yes, if Bitcoin flies, this will do well, but I've talked about it quite a lot in my videos. The actual real story of Ethereum has been very, very poor. And I think a lot of people forget this, and I think I've upset a couple of people. I'm sorry, Ethereum lovers, but this has been the reason why Bitcoin dominance has gone up to the 59% levels is because this has dropped so much. You know, in terms of 2024, literally, if you're going to go from the start of like the year, essentially, right? It's dropped from like, what, 18% on certain cases and all the way down to like 13.9 at the minute. 13.7 it went to. It's not good. So you think about that spillover, it's pretty important. And the spillover is kind of like, look at how BNB has slowly increased. Look at how Solana has really increased, right? Solana could well flip Ethereum at certain points. You never know, right? And this has been a massive upgrade versus what Ethereum has been. So maybe watch out. Maybe the flipping is Ethereum to Bitcoin. It might well actually be Solana. But again, we talk about a psychological factor here. This could be the most hated, heated rally ever. It could be crazy. Now, Ethereum could really turn it upside down. But performance-wise, lately, ever since the ETF came online, has been really poor. And we've just got to look at the ETF data. What's happened? Well, Grayscale have just went, fuck off, bye, sold 3,000 Ethereum, essentially. It's quite a lot, really, when you think about it. So yeah, net negative, not looking good. So that side of it, interesting for altcoins especially. But Ethereum, the good thing here is Ethereum isn't the be all and end all. You've got meme coins and other chains now. You've got the likes of Dogecoin as well. You've got other native chain meme coins. You've obviously got Solana. You've got stuff on Base now. Bitcoin runes could well become a factor. So it's massive. One final thing to talk about in terms of indexes, essentially for the altcoin market, is the fact that the total 3 is looking really interesting. Again, we do have some signs of divergence appear in here. If you want access to this indicator, it's on the Learning Crypto website, link below on the Traders Lounge. It feels like we are getting towards a point of real kind of, hello, what's happening? Potential breakouts. If this breaks above this level and it's a clear break, I think we may be turned on. Like literally, it might be crazy. because it may well make the market flow. If we're going to go bang up to the upside and then dominance falls and then all the other totals and total 3/BTC start to move as well, you're going to see more and more interest come. I do still think that Bitcoin needs to break its all-time high first, though, and like get a clear break and then get the hype coming, because that will lead to news stories. But what's interesting is all of this is happening when the dollar has done this, right? Bitcoin's been strong. The dollar has been strong too. Often you find it the other way around. So it'll be interesting to see if this level here, this 104 level, is the top of this correctional wave for the dollar. If that is the case, which it might be, it could be very, very interesting to see what happens when it actually rides down. But obviously, as I say, elections coming up, people want a strong dollar. You want to be dominant versus everything else. It's certainly in the short term. And I talk about it quite often. The S&P 500 is still making its merry way up to this sort of level. Things are looking really, really interesting in the S&P 500. The Dow Jones as well is also at, or it was essentially at its all-time high. It's mad when you think about it. So when we talk about the belief in the market, the volatility, and the VIX being at 19.226, things are looking pretty good, right? In my opinion, especially. So we'll see where the market goes here, because I think when we talk about the BTC pairs, when we talk about the dollar, when we talk about obviously the total 3/BTC, I'll show you the total 3/BTC. When this does actually finally break to the upside, which it probably feels like a long way off now, but with it dropping a little bit over the last few days, especially with Bitcoin being so strong, it's like that sort of situation where you just got to wait and see what happens, because once that flip happens, you're going to notice a lot of people fly into the markets. And, you know, it's greed, isn't it? It's that green dildo candle. People want it, which is absolutely madness. Other things, final thing before I bugger off, Bitcoin miners like a terror wolf absolutely flew yesterday. Even Soluna is starting to pick up pace again. Marathon is, you know, we're starting to get changes of character and breaks the structure. We've got to look at something here, and this is a final bit I'm going to say. Bitcoin runes, I know I've said it before, and people are like, oh, fuck off, like, leave me alone. They've been getting a lot of traffic on chain. That is indicated, in my opinion, that the mine is going to eat well. That's going to reflect, hopefully, in the future, and it's going to hopefully create positive price action and news association to earnings, because they're making more revenue through the Bitcoin ecosystem mining, right? It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out in the bull market. When Bitcoin does, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the next couple of weeks, does carry on moving high and get strength, and the hash rate increases, and the miners are more profitable in terms of margins, it's going to be very interesting to see where the likes of Iron, Hut 8, you know, in my opinion, the likes of TerraWolf and stuff, even, you know, CleanSpark do, because I think they will be very, very interesting. So, yeah, bull markets all across the board, essentially, if you're looking at certain things. There we go. Hope you enjoy. Make sure you watch the video, and that's going to pop up on the screen.